The greatest indoor track and field meet of the year has already happened, and whether or not you want to believe me, it was attended by a whole bunch of college kids. Because although the World Indoor Championships are coming, let's be honest, a lot of the world's most talented athletes won't actually be in attendance. Just about anybody who showed up to the Olympic Games with a real chance at winning a medal will not be showing up on the starting line. But a lot of those same Olympians who were competing against them came back to college and were at the NCAA Indoor meet. And instead of competing for their nations, they competed for Division I programs. And let me tell you, this meet did not disappoint. We had world-leading times, collegiate records that were on watch, and all of the unpredictability that actually comes with going out there to run the races to begin with. I'm also aware that college track and field is incredibly hard to follow, even if you wanted to. The NCAA Championships is about the best opportunity you're going to get to watch it, and even then, ESPN won't even give you an update on the results on their own app. So if you really want to know what went down during the meet, I guess you're stuck with me. So here is a recap of the NCAA Indoor Championship meet through my eyes. I admit that I can't go over every performance. Ain't nobody got time for that. But I am going to give you some of the biggest highlights. And spoiler alert, most of the fireworks definitely went down on the track. That said, I've got to get started on the women's side, because the women's 60-meter dash was very highly anticipated. Freshman India Mayberry of TCU was the collegiate leader for most of the season. That said, she was going to be facing off with Jaden Mays of Oregon, who had a very real shot to make Team USA back in Paris in 2024. But that was then, and this is now. And when the dust settled, it was Dejas DeFrond of USC who came out with the victory. That one does have to go down as an upset. But it was nowhere near as large an upset as what went down later in the 200. Because India Mayberry came back. But that time, she was not the favorite, because she was racing against Jamezia Ford, who had never lost a collegiate race indoors in the 200. And she's a sophomore right now, which also makes her the reigning champion in that event. But the truth is, the lanes on the track really don't care what your record is before the gun goes off. And as a result, Jamezia Ford of South Carolina got upset. She didn't even just get second, she got third. Because Jaden Mays of Oregon went even faster, and then India Mayberry, running in her same section, ran even faster than her. As a result, freshman India Mayberry is now the new NCAA champion in the 200. Keep in mind that the last time a 5-star recruit from the state of Texas showed up to an NCAA championship and actually won the whole thing in a sprinting event, her name was Sha'Carri Richardson. I'm just going to leave that there and let your mind run with that. But you could argue that the women's 400 was an even bigger upset, because Olympian Aaliyah Butler came back to college at Georgia, and by all estimations was supposed to win that event. But Isabella Whitaker, who now runs for Arkansas, but used to run for UPenn in the Ivy League, did not care. She didn't just go out there and win the event. She broke the collegiate record indoors for the 400. It's not that much of a shocker when you remember that Arkansas has been dominating the women's 400 for quite some time now, which is also why they went out there and won the 4x4, because they've been the fastest team in that event the entire season long. In the distance events, Doris Lemongale of Alabama did exactly what she was supposed to. She won the event in the 5K because she's the collegiate record holder in that event, the same record that Parker Valby used to hold. But she ain't Parker Valby, which is why when she came back in the 3K, she actually got second, behind Kaylee McCabe of West Virginia. But Oregon was putting up points on the board all over this track meet. They won the mile, podiumed in the 60 and the 200, went second in the 60 hurdles behind Jaya Covington of Texas A&M, and ultimately won the entire meet. And that is a big deal, because heading into this season, Arkansas had won the last 2 NCAA Indoor Championships and 4 of the last 5, but they ain't win this one. But the one event that we cannot overlook is the pole vault, because Amanda and Hannah Mall went 1 and 2 at the national championship meet. Hannah Mall was already a national champion last year as a freshman in that event, so the fact that she came back to jump the exact same height as her sister going 1 and 2 at the NCAAs. And remember, they're still sophomores. The Washington Huskies only need to find a few more points to add it to the bank if they want to be right there to win a national title outdoors. But if you're new here, I want to say thank you for even making it this far into the video. And I'm Coach Rob, the founder of SCARecruiting.com, where I rank the best track and field recruits across the entire nation. And if anything that I say actually connects with you, it is always greatly appreciated if you would please like and subscribe. But if I don't, just let me know in the comment section, because I try to read them all. Moving on to the men's side, the 60-meter dash situation proved to be just about as unpredictable as anyone could have expected if you actually followed this entire season. J.C. Stevenson entered the meet as the collegiate leader in the event, and then he ran a new collegiate lead in the prelims, just 1/100th of a second off of the collegiate record in the 60. But when he came back for the final, you have to know who he was competing against. There were 2 Olympians in the other lanes, so it was not going to be easy to get the victory, and neither of them actually did. It was Jordan Anthony of Arkansas, the reigning SEC indoor champion in that event, who got the victory. And it is ridiculous that him winning a national title is technically an upset depending on who you ask, because back as a freshman running for Kentucky, he got 2nd overall in the NCAA 60, and that was behind the man who is the collegiate record holder. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. If you win the 60-meter dash at the NCAA championship meet, and you play football, it is a crime if you do not receive a 99 overall speed rating in College Football 25. I hope somebody at EA Sports is listening right now. But after that, I do have to admit that the men's 200-meter dash was a whole lot more predictable, because Carly Makarawu of Kentucky and Maka Sharamba of Auburn have been the best 200-meter sprinters in the nation, and that was what was supposed to happen entering the season. They were both in the Olympic final in Paris for the 200 and came back to college. So yes, they went 1-2 in the NCAA 200, just like they did at the SEC championship meet. The only difference is that the order was flipped, because Carly was in the lead this time. And then there was the men's 400, where Will Floyd of Georgia upset everybody, because 3 men in that field were top 15 all time in the indoor 400. And Will Floyd was not on that list, not even close. But he is the 3rd man from Georgia in 3 straight years to win the indoor 400 at the NCAAs. So yeah, I don't know how they're pulling it off, but they keep doing it. And in case you weren't paying attention, there were fireworks in the men's DMR, because Ethan Strand of UNC and Gary Martin of UVA duked it out on the anchor leg to determine who would be the national champion. But Gary Martin got the victory for his team. But then those same 2 men faced off individually in the 3K later in the meet, and the order flipped, because the same man who was the collegiate record holder in the 3K got the victory. It was Ethan Strand. Which leads me now to the men's 4x4 situation. And trust me, it was a situation. I'm going to be 100% honest as I talk about this event. It was the most confusing thing that we actually got to see during the entire meet. I'm not even going to just tell you the results. I have to narrate what actually happened, because I watched this thing unfold. In the 4x4, they run a 3-section final with 4 teams in each heat. And in the first section, hey, they ran what they ran. Nobody expected them to actually score points, because these are the 4 slowest seeds. But hey, somebody had to be in front for that heat. Shout out to them. You move on to Heat 2, where the Georgia Bulldogs won their heat. They ran fast enough, I guess, and it's incredibly fast depending on who you ask. Just not fast enough to win a national title, at least from what we projected, because the seed times tell us that 3:05 ain't supposed to get it done. And then the final heat actually went off, where USC, Florida, Arkansas, and Texas A&M duked it out. And during the first leg, Arkansas got hit, and as that happened, their first runner ended up stepping off the track, dropping the baton, having to pick it up and keep going. Texas A&M got disqualified for everything that went down, but that situation slowed the entire race down. So much so that by the time the anchor legs were supposed to go, nobody actually knew what was happening. Nobody was lined up to receive the baton. They literally had to sprint onto the track just to grab the baton to continue the race. Because of all of that, the 3 fastest teams in the entire meet didn't run what they were capable of. No shade, just being honest. And Georgia ended up winning the 4x4. But it didn't really matter because USC didn't need to win the 4x4 in order to win the meet. So even though they didn't get a podium spot in that event, they are now the new national champions on the men's side. And you could easily argue that they underachieved on the leaderboards during the meet. Just saying. Because if you actually paid attention to the seed times, they were supposed to score a whole bunch more points. I just still find it very hard to believe that USC can actually win a national title without basically focusing at all on the throws or the distance events. They do it all in the sprints, jumps, and hurdles, and apparently that's all they actually needed. And yes, I am aware that indoor track and field is more or less a formal warm-up for outdoor anyway. The only time we care about indoors is while indoor is happening, because the moment we step outdoors, it basically becomes irrelevant. But the facts are still the facts. National titles do not grow on trees. They're incredibly hard to get individually and even harder to pull off as a team. So if you're somebody who has any real plans of winning it all outdoors, at the very least, you now know who exactly you're going to need to beat in order to pull it off. If you think you need help getting recruited, you are probably right. On SCArecruiting.com, you can get a ton of resources like my free recruiting guide, detailed videos, online courses, and much more. And if nothing else, and you just really want to see more content like this, it is always greatly appreciated if you would please like and subscribe.